All right, we'll go live. I am Dan Kingerski on the Pittsburgh Hockey Now platforms, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So the Penguins made a little bit of news tonight, did they not? And not just one trade, but two, although in reality, it was kind of one trade with two other teams. So first, they trade Vinny Desharnais to San Jose for a 2028 fifth-round pick. I'm just going to put this out there. I think if I say it this way, I won't have to be too critical of Desharnais. The Penguins got more for Chad Ruedel at last year's deadline than they did for 6'7" right-handed defenseman Vinny Desharnais. No, I was not overly impressed with Desharnais' play with the Penguins. He played a full 10 games off to San Jose. Yeah, it is the Night Owls Club, kids. Dan's a little tired. I don't know if you can tell. I've been going at this since 4 a.m. Eastern time. Just because, to get the stuff done, to get to the airport, to right then. And the best 2 hours of my day were the 2 hours on Frontier Airlines that doesn't have Wi-Fi. Oh, that was glorious. I slept. And the scenery flying over the Rockies then into Vegas is awesome. Okay, so first trade, Desharnais is out. They've cleared a right-handed spot on the blue line there. So then Kyle Dubas takes Michael Bunting. I've got here, we'll do this. Flips Michael Bunting to the Nashville Predators in exchange for 27-year-old Tommy Novak. Let me double check if Novak is 27 or 28. So actually, it does make a bit of a difference, doesn't it? I'm doing this on the fly. He is 27. He will turn 28 next month. So for intents and purposes, they've acquired a 28-year-old. Eek. Okay, so they bring Tommy Novak, but also the unique part of the deal, 35-year-old right-handed defenseman, Luke Shen. Here's where I think it gets really funky. First of all, you've traded Michael Bunting, in reality, a gritty, energetic winger who can score 20 goals for you. Bunting has his ups and downs, and I always got the feeling that Sullivan and Kyle Dubas were always just a little frustrated with Bunting or wanted just a little bit more of something else. Or I always just had that feeling based on the answers that both of them gave about Bunting. Still, there's no denying he is a guy that drags his team into the fight. So Nashville, despite having the third worst record in the NHL, they're in the now because they went out and got Brady Shea and Steve Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault last July. You can't just give up. In for a penny, in for a pound. So they get Michael Bunting too. They probably have another move or two to set themselves up to be more competitive next season. From the Penguins side of things, okay, we've known they've liked Tommy Novak. That was one of the worst kept secrets going around the NHL. Everybody knew the Penguins were scouting Tommy Novak. Fine. He had, sorry, let me double check it. I just paged away from it. I apologize. He had a decent year last year, 18 goals in 71 games. This year, 13 goals, 52 games. But the stats, his overall point total as a center, despite playing recently between Philip Forsberg and Jonathan Marchessault. In fact, let me pull up Novak here so I have the stats right. I'm doing this on the fly. I'm also doing this after a long day. Yeah, Novak had 13 goals, 9 assists, 22 points. I've got so much to say, and condensing it at this point, kids, is going to be a little bit difficult. I also want to sort of maintain a certain level of detached professionalism here. If I got down in the mud here, Kyle Dubas, I think, made it pretty easy for me to do that tonight. Because let me start here. I don't think this is a good trade for the Penguins. I have the same feeling, the same analysis, the same outlook as I did when I sat there under the palm trees in Florida when Ron Hextall acquired Mikael Granlund. I have the exact same sort of, what are you doing, reaction to this trade. So let's start with Novak, supposedly a playmaking center, but just 9 assists. Here is another analytics darling. So what the Penguins have done essentially is take all of the analytics darlings that Barry Trotz in Nashville didn't want. Cody Glass first, Philip Tomasino next. Now, Tommy Novak. Nashville, you don't trade a top 6 center, respectfully now, for Michael Bunting and a 4th-round pick. You don't do that. So Novak, he's going to have to fight his way into this. Kyle Dubas, in his response, said he's been on Dubas's priority list for several years now. Fair enough. Dubas has liked him a lot. He does, Dubas likes the analytics. Novak has the analytics, so there's that. We haven't even touched the Luke Shen issue yet, have we? And I'm going to call him Braden Shen before we're done here, right? So as part of the deal, the Penguins get 35-year-old Braden Shen. This was the part of the deal that I was originally quite attracted to. This was the part of the deal that I was going to give Kyle Dubas an A for, because I think Shen's value at this trade deadline is really high. I don't mean pretty good, like, 3rd-round pick high. I mean, with the way the market is, with the scarcity of right-handed defensemen, with the scarcity of physical, reliable, stay-at-home right-handed defensemen, with the scarcity of physical, reliable, stay-at-home, affordable right-handed defensemen, with the scarcity of affordable, reliable, stay-at-home, right-handed, physical, big defenseman who can fight, the market should be red hot for him. Obviously, it's not as hot as I might think it is, or Nashville would have flipped him already. But as I made the point on Twitter, Nashville is in the now. They can't afford to trade a guy like Shen for future considerations, future assets. They can't recoup Shen's value 4 years from now. So, okay, Michael Bunting for Shen, with Novak sort of as an accessory to the deal, made sense to me. But when Dubas answered our email questions, I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to pull up the Pittsburgh Hockey Now article here, because the 5 beat outlets, and Pittsburgh Hockey Now, blessedly, is one of them. We had to fight a long time to get ourselves into that club. And let's see. Let me get down here. Because this was my question. This was my question absolutely straight away. So let me share screen here. Here is Kyle Dubas's answer. In fact, I should make it a little bigger for you. That's what she said. All right. So I said, my question to Dubas via the email was, do you plan to keep Shen past the deadline in the summer? And we moved Vinny to San Jose in lockstep with the Nashville trade because we feel that Luke's defensive play, character, leadership, toughness, and spirit are what we need here to help push our program through this phase and preserve our culture and standards as we work to return to contention. We believe the way he plays, the way he carries himself each day will be well received by Penguins fans and the city of Pittsburgh. I guess we can work backwards. That last sentence, I don't think you're jumping on the bandwagon. Yes, Luke Shen is here. If this were 2 years ago, in fact, if this were 1 year ago, well, if this were 18 months ago, this would have been a great trade for the Penguins to pick up Luke Shen to support Chris Letang and Erik Karlsson. I think it would have been a bit of a different boat last year, because the Penguins' defense has been the worst in the NHL essentially 2 years running, has it not? And so I'm hard-pressed to fault Dubas for getting a competent defenseman. I am very easily able to criticize getting a defenseman who's going to be here for a year. I don't necessarily understand that. The entire effort has been to acquire future assets, get younger, transition. So they've essentially traded Michael Bunting for an analytics darling having a bad year. Maybe this is his reckoning, coming down to earth after a good year last year. It doesn't speak well that he's having a bad year in his third year. But anyway, so citing effort and spirit and culture and all of that Dubas did, my question in my head, I just rattled around very quickly. So what about Sidney Crosby, Chris Letang, Brian Rust as leaders in the room? Are they not enough? Do you need more for young players coming in? What about Kevin Hayes, Alex Nedeljkovic? Do they not have that leadership and spirit? Are there not players who are cheaper, much, much cheaper than Luke Shen proved to be, who could provide that same rock-ribbed aggression, leadership, spirit, quality, all of those sorts of things? If you can tell, if I had to assign a letter grade to this night, this entire night of trades, I'd probably give it a D. I'd be C minus or a D. Not because Luke Schen's a bad player, and not because I don't think Tommy Novak can help the Penguins. I actually think Novak is going to slot in very soon as the second line center, which would allow, the reason for that would, of course, be a Rickard Rakell trade. You slide Evgeny Malkin up to the top line left wing. So you've got Malkin, Crosby, Rust. You're at least insulating Malkin and Crosby and allowing them to play well, to play with others of their ilk, of their quality. And then on the second line, I suppose it becomes a jumble again. Whether it's Kevin Hayes as your second line center, Tommy Novak, what have you. But 4 former Nashville Predators, either Kyle Dubas is picking Barry Trotz's pocket, or Barry Trotz is picking Kyle Dubas's pocket. I like Cody Glass very much. Cody Glass, as I tweeted last night, is a player who does not have very good statistics. He doesn't wow you. He makes his team better. Fine. You can have 1 or 2 of those guys. Philip Tomasino, as we wrote about on Pittsburgh Hockey Now this week, is progressing. He made a couple of really nice defensive plays at the blue line, both, in different periods, against Colorado. He still only has 16 points in 35 games. And he's got a long way to go. If you're only going to score at that level, you have to add a lot of other layers and qualities to your game to help the team win. I don't think Tomasino is in that boat yet where he's helping the team win when he's not scoring. He's not hurting them, as was the fear when he first got here. They really had to, mold his game. So he's not hurting the Penguins at all. But is he helping them that much when he's not scoring? So now you've got another one. They're kind of, oh, come on in. The water's fine. What someone told me about Tommy Novak was he's a better version of Cody Glass. He's going to score at a higher level. So there's my trade analysis. I've taken 15 minutes to kind of break it down. I don't know how all of you feel about this, because maybe you're excited by it. I think you would have been excited had Luke Shen been on the block. Here was where my mind went, and you can scratch this. I'm not reporting it, but here's where my mind went. Wow, Luke Shen and an extra first-round pick. What could the Penguins get for that? You start talking about Easton Cowan or Fraser Minton out of Toronto, plus, a little something. You start talking about some significant prospects that you can pull out of different places. The worst thing that can happen, I think, is that the Penguins get a little better today. If they win a couple more games, that's irrelevant to the big picture for this team. I know they're still trying. Oh, yeah, I see Leonardo's comment. Yeah, you said it before. You wrote it before I said it, I think, Leonardo. Why does Novak feel like Cody Glass 2.0? And to me, Cody Glass feels like Dominic Simone 2.0. So maybe Novak is like 4.0. What was I saying? I honestly don't remember. Again, 4 a.m. Keep that in mind, folks. Let's see here. But anyway, I have a great. Oh, I was talking about the potential to go out and get some really top shelf young players with a Shen and a first rounder. I think that's fair, right? How do I look? But if you're going to keep Luke Shen, they spent Michael Bunting for leadership. That was supposed to be the Penguins' strength. It was supposed to be all they had left was leadership. All right, let's go to some comments here. I think I've expressed my opinion as far as I can go tonight. If I were in your shoes, I shudder to think what I should or would say. Danny says, this is nuts. Brian, yeah, the Twitter Night Owl Club. Let's see here from Robert Paradiso. I don't understand of that trade. Is Dubas rebuilding? By the way, I'm at New York. Can you tell? You might even hear the Vegas Golden Knights goal horn. I've been laying here writing all night, and you can hear the goal horn from New York. Anyway, Robert, I apologize. I can't follow your question, man. Let's see. Danny thinks they won both trades tonight. All right, Danny. Let's go to Brandon. Dan, please talk me off this cliff and tell me we won't be watching Shen on this team next season and that we're flipping him within 24 hours. Well, Brandon, I think I failed to do that by Kyle Dubas' own words. He didn't say it specifically. He didn't say we're keeping him. I think he clearly, strongly implied that, or maybe I'm just very clearly inferring it. I don't know. But you don't talk about a guy's leadership and all of those qualities if you're going to flip him. All right, let's get to Kyle. Just watching you on YouTube, Dan. Love the comment. I appreciate you, Kyle, very much. Golf legend. So I guess now Braden and Luke won't unite unless the Penguins flip Luke. I don't see the Pens getting Braden, nor do I think they should. What the heck? They need leadership, right? They need a center, right? Yeah. Let's see. Let me get down to the Pittsburgh Hornets. Pittsburgh Hornets, I kick myself. The antique store across from PPG Paints Arena there on Fifth Avenue, that is now closed, had an original Pittsburgh Hornets banner in that store. And it was sometimes in the front window, kind of off to the side. And I always told myself I was going to go buy it. And then, was it a year ago? Maybe it might be 2 years ago now. They stopped opening. It was just open by appointment for a little while. And now they are completely closed. And I think the stuff is still in there, like all the stuff. But yeah, they had some Pittsburgh Hornets, original 1950s Hornets banners and rosters and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked here. Feels like we got fleeced. We will see when the players get here, but Dubas is spending too much time looking into the analytics, or does he know something? We'll find out, right? Every trade has two judgment phases. First, you judge the immediate. Based on all the information we know, we can assign the trades tonight. Like I said, I give them a C-, a D. I don't think the Penguins served themselves well tonight by keeping Shen, or acquiring Shen to keep him. But let's just say Tommy Novak is what Dubas thinks he is, and he becomes a 55-point centerman who can play both ends of the ice, distribute the puck, score 20 goals. Then you're like, oh, fantastic trade. Then everything flips. Then you're like, wait, they gave up Michael Bunting for a 20-goal center? Fantastic trade. So I very well could have to eat these words. Someone's going to take a clip of YouTube in 2 years and say, Kangarski doesn't know what he's doing. Look at this. My favorite. This didn't age well. As if everyone's opinion has to be perfect 5 years from now. Those people should be hung by their feet and beaten. Let's see here. Chris Albee. Seems like they want Shen to be a leader on the blue line and help ease Brunick in next season. That's an interesting take on it. I had considered Brunick. Now let me put this out there. Erik Karlsson is still a Penguin. Chris Letang is still a Penguin. Where would Brunick play next season? If you've got Letang, Karlsson, Shen, you don't get Brunick. I was thinking more along the lines of Shen was brought in for Owen Pickering, which I hope, I would hope that Shen's intensity and seriousness, they don't force Pickering into that mold. I really hope they don't ruin that kid. That's just, Owen Pickering is a unique soul. He's a really great human being. Like, he's just, he could be a captain, not necessarily your run through a brick wall head first captain, but a guy who brings the room together kind of captain. Everyone loves Owen Pickering. Maybe Sully doesn't like Bunting. No, I wouldn't say that at all, Steve. I would say that there were some defensive lapses and Bunting's game could get away from him. And there was always that hesitation to really invest or buy into Bunting. Ron says these are head scratchers. Let's see here. Did the Pens win? Do you think a line of Nashville kids, Novak, Glass, and Tomasino would work? Sure, but let me put it this way. If you're putting Novak at left wing in this case, you've downgraded yourself via the trade. You've given up Michael Bunting, a top 6 left wing, for Novak. If I'm being very honest about where Cody Glass fits, I loved him at fourth line center. Yesterday was Tuesday, right? Yeah. I loved Cody Glass, fourth line center Tuesday. I thought that line really clicked. with Lizotte and Achari on the wings there, and Glass in the middle, kind of like they did early in the season when Hayes was in the middle of them. I thought it really, I thought it popped. Okay, Brandon's back. All right, what do you got here, Brandon? If they trade Carlson in the offseason to give runway for a guy like Brunick to make the team, then hey, cool, Brandon says. But what about Jack St. Ivany? A combined 100 years. Is it really? It'd be like, it's only like what, 45? But that's pretty funny. Isn't really great. I don't believe that Jack St. Ivany is guaranteed a spot in the Penguins' future. If he rebounds his game, if he reforms and gets back to what we saw at the end of last season, things have a way of working out. Teams make room for you. But honestly, even down in Wilkes-Barre, I haven't seen the same Jack St. Ivany. Remember in January of 2024, when I went to scout Wilkes-Barre, and that's when I'm the one who I want credit for it. Darn it. I'm the one who kind of said, hey, St. Ivany is going to be in the NHL very soon. You could see it. And what the play that really grabbed my attention was he basically, bar bounced a guy out of the crease, just heave-ho, clearing space for Joel Blomqvist to see the puck. And then I really began to hone in on St. Ivany, watch his game. I'm not seeing the same game this year. I'm really not. And that has to really concern the Penguins. And yes, I'm on the floor, by the way. So this is why my arm is resting here. Here's my knee. Just the way the light in the room worked. I could be over in the window, and you could see down to the Vegas Strip. I've got a really cool view. But the light off the glass, all you could see is my bed. I didn't think you wanted to see my bed. All right, let's go to Brandon Angelo Nada. I don't know what that's about. All right, so y'all have to kind of clue me in on the context of what you're commenting on. The power of art. Which Shen did we get? We got the good one. I flashed to the Shut story, right? You guys know the legend of the Penguins when they made a trade with Montreal, and there were two Shut brothers. One was, essentially an all-star, a great player. The other one, not so much. And the legend was the Penguins GM thought he got the great one in a trade. I don't know the validity of that. I tend to think it's urban legend. But that's what a hapless franchise the Penguins were back in the 70s. Do I think Dubas will continue improving Wilkes-Barre this season? Mike, this season's basically over. They're in the countdown to the playoffs. I don't know how he could improve Wilkes-Barre. I mean, that team has everything. You have a couple of offensive defensemen. You do have the defensive defensemen. You have a couple of real veteran defensemen. You've got some kids playing, increasingly well. You've got Koivunen and McGroarty. What do you want? Plus, Emil Bemstrom will head back down for the playoffs, too. Why trade for a 35 and 27-year-old? I thought we were supposed to get younger. Well, 27 is younger. I know you want 23-year-olds. I understand. Voltage, any update of trade talks of Raquel? Any idea what teams may be interested? Kyle Dubas has continued the very small circle management technique or style of Ron Hextall. I was talking with somebody else who has weaseled a little bit of information out of the Penguins recently, and yeah, it's really tough to find out. I think LA, I think Winnipeg, I believe that Raquel would make Dallas a powerhouse. And I think Dallas has the young players to get that done. Maverick Bork, come on, let's go. Just to name one. I also thought Florida might take a run at him because he's so affordable. But then you have to look at the next year and 2 years down the line, and Florida probably doesn't have the cap space next year to do that. But that's the few teams that I've heard kicked around for Rickard Rakell. What do I think the next few days hold for the Penguins? Rakell and Carlson deals coming. Who is man? That's just a loaded. That is the whole buffet, my man. That is the entire buffet in one question. I would put the odds at Carlson being traded at, let's call it 25-75. That's where I'm at on that. Rakell, I would have put him at like a 30-70. Probably going to stay to the summer. I always thought a summer deal made more sense for him. However, when you see Seattle getting 2 first-round picks for Yanni Gourde and who was the other? Help me out. Yanni Gourde and oh heck, I can't remember, but yeah, that was incredible. Oh, Oliver Bjorkstrand. That's who the other when you can only imagine after GM see that, after Dubas sees that, the next phone call on Rakell is, yeah, the price has changed. So I would put the Rakell trade now at 50-50. Oh, Art apparently here has realized which Shen brother they got. Some of you guys all crack me up. Zach D, is it a possibility he said that about Shen as an attempt? That meaning, praising Shen and what, they want Shen to shepherd them to the next phase in order to persuade suitors to make better offers since it makes us look less interested. I mean, it's possible. There's a 3% chance a meteor hits the Earth in 2032. It's possible. I don't think you say that if there's a chance you trade him. If there was a chance the Penguins trade him by Friday, Dubas's answer should have been, we're excited to get a defenseman of the quality of Luke Schenn. The next couple of days, there's going to be a lot of turnover. There's going to be a lot of discussions, and we are looking forward to making the Penguins the best team possible. And that's all you say. Well, yes, I do think Grizzly will be traded. Is Dubas trying to push playoffs? No. The Penguins have no chance to push for a playoff spot. The Devils can fall. That's fine. There are so many teams ahead of the Penguins. Realize this. The Penguins are 300th of a, 300.03 points, 300ths of a point ahead of the Buffalo Sabres for last in the Eastern Conference. Luke Shen brings toughness to this heartless team, says Jeff. Yes, Jeff, you are correct on that. There is no denying. And that's why I said a year ago or 18 months ago, this trade would have been great for the Penguins. But this is one of those things where if you're looking for a heart, you can find that in other places without taking on a 35-year-old that has a lot of trade value. All right, Art's blowing me up here all of a sudden. Let's go back to Josh. Oh, here we go. The JJ Paterka stuff. Is a guy like Paterka someone who we could actually end up walking away with, or someone similar to him, like a young guy? Yes, absolutely. Here's the thing, though. I thought Bunting was one of those players that had some value in a now sort of trade. So you trade Bunting, you get like a, so the Penguins traded Bunting, I guess, for a Novak, not a Paterka. I don't know how the Penguins get one of the Sabres prospect 4A players without giving up their first round pick now, or multiple draft picks. And even so, it won't be the ones you want. It'll be the second tier guys that Buffalo is willing to part with to get those assets. Again, don't forget, Buffalo, bottom of the heap. Matt says, I liked what Bunting brought to the team. If Dubas gets a D tonight, how would you grade his tenure so far? Listen, kids, I'm tired. I might be a little punch drunk. When I read a sentence like that, my mind is going to jump the track. How would I grade his tenure? Boy, that's a 2,000 word column, Matt. You're asking me that on the video. I do not think Kyle Dubas has earned a high grade in the first 22 months, 21 months of his tenure. I do think Kyle Dubas has set himself up well for the next phase. You understand the nuance, what I'm saying there? It seems like almost uniformly his moves have underperformed or not worked to this point. Yet he still has a cache of draft picks and some nice young prospects that he's going to be able to groom and to get to the NHL. So, let's call it a 7-year plan. He's set up very well for years 3 to 6, so that by years 5 and 6, he should be able to sign an extension. That would be the hope, right? That he's done such a great job. The Penguins can't afford to let him go, and FSG throws a ton of money at him. Having said that, these moves have to start working out, or he's going to find that cash he's built is worthless. You can have all the guns in the closet that you want. If you have no bullets, well, they're just pretty ornaments. Yes, Jamie. Yes, he was from Squirrel Hill. I always assumed that he had passed on because he was definitely getting up there. Yes, that antique store by PPG had the old Hornets banners. Connor says the option of having a quick, analytically strong third-line center who is capable of putting up 15 to 20 goals and 45-plus points seems like a win to me. When you put it like that, analytically strong, I suppose, but he's going to have to put up more than 22 points in 52 games to be successful. To be successful, he does need 45 points. He's going to come nowhere near that this season. He's probably going to get close to 30. And in reality, I think, for him to be successful long-term, he needs to be at a 50-point level. Although 45 would be passable in the transition phase. But when the Penguins get good, a 40, if a third line center, yes, 45 points is good. But I would expect the Penguins have higher hopes than a third line center. You can get a third line center for $2 million, as evidenced by Lars Eller, sorry. Let's go to Chris. Shen acquisition doesn't really make me feel better about Letang finishing in Pittsburgh. Why? Shen's 35. He's Shen has a lot of hard miles on that car. I'm sure they'll ruin Pickering. I can smell it. Johnny Gaudreau forever. Crosby is too sick. Great comment. That added a lot. Let's see here. Actually, I'll address this pretty quick. Matt says we should have kept Eller. No, the Penguins could not keep Eller. With this losing, Lars Eller would have been a miserable wreck by this point. He was taking the losses very hard in October. That it would not have worked. 5-on-5, I didn't see much from Bunting a lot of the time. He is a great power play player, and a big reason is the Pens' power play being so good this season. He was pretty good on the power play. I suppose you could look up his power play goals pretty quickly. Like I said, there are always ebbs and flows with his game. Good point. Dubas's comments on bringing in leadership. Interesting when they shipped out Eller early in the season. I wondered about that too. Like, what does it really mean? You shouldn't need that much leadership. All right, let's get to Connor here. I'm going to wrap it up here pretty quickly, although we got a ton of questions. Good God almighty. It's after midnight on the East Coast. It's almost 1 o'clock, and you people are tossing a pile of stuff at me here. Okay, let's see. Is Novak that much better than Eller? No, I wouldn't say so. Oh, now you're all okay. We're all debating Eller. Let's move off from Lars Eller, please. SEAL Team Rick says I'm a bit behind, but based on the numbers I'm saying, doesn't agree with the move. Yeah, I mean, Novak is going to have to perform at his peak level for this to be a good deal. Maybe Dubas is cooking something up. Schen's going to be flipped. No, I can tell you just joined. Nope, Shen is not going to be flipped. That would make Dubas look bad. I mean, you can always spin and say, hey, we got an offer we couldn't refuse. We didn't plan on doing it, but hey, we got an offer. Brian says, I really wonder if Letang is still a Penguin after Friday. He will be. However, I'm going to end on this. I know there's a lot of questions. You can tell I'm getting a little tired. You look at my eyes. My voice is going a little bit too. I've had a couple of conversations over the past week with Chris Letang, specifically about the team, the trade deadline, his future, and so on and so forth. And I cannot guarantee that he will be a Penguin for his entire career. I can assert that if it's his choice, he will be. And in that sort of gray area is some weird, Letang has a full no movement clause. So if he wants to be a Penguin, he will be a Penguin. Plain and simple, period. Button it up. I think there is an avenue where if Kyle Dubas walked downstairs and said, hey, Chris, can we trade you? Chris would be like, no, I don't want to be traded. Kyle will be like, maybe I think the Penguins could shove Chris Letang out the door, which I don't think they're going to do. And he's not going to walk out the door. So the odds that Chris Letang finishes his career as a Penguin is very high. They are very, very high. I wouldn't put them at 100%. In fact, like I was on the air with Borky. I did Josh Yohe's Rivers Casino show last Friday on Fox Sports 970. And we were talking. Borky was kind of the same opinion of Evgeny Malkin. Like if there was one of the three who could be pried away, Borky thought Gino could be. I thought Letang. Let's see here. Oh, here. That is, Murashov. We're going to get down a rabbit hole there. So this was all about the trade analysis. I don't like the Penguins acquired a 35-year-old defenseman who has a high trade value in order to keep him. I think that's probably a misuse of assets. But if Novak works out independently, I suppose we can all look the other way on it. But Novak's going to have to work out. So today, I say C-D. Talk to me in 2 years. If Novak pops 20 goals or 15 goals, 45 points, I will grab a fork and eat these words, and away we go. So from the Vegas hotel, it's almost 10 o'clock Vegas time. I haven't even had dinner. Although if you saw me on Twitter, I got my money's worth at lunch. Anyway, my cholesterol, is 1 million a good cholesterol score? All right, kids, have fun. I appreciate you. Like, subscribe, comment, argue away. It's always a pleasure getting a chance to talk with everybody. Have fun.